Good morning, good afternoon to all our youth joining us today from across MENA region. Today I have the pleasure of meeting with Peter Hogg, Talent Acquisition Director, MIA from Schneider Electric, to discuss the employment opportunities and market challenges faced by young people before and after COVID-19. Hi, Peter.
Razan, hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you. So, Peter, just before we begin our conversation, I would like to shed light on some specific facts. Today, youth in MENA make up more than 50% of the population, yet the employment rate is the highest in the world, standing at 29%. It is also a fact that COVID-19 has dramatically changed the job market. In fact, 72% of our youth say that the pandemic has made finding a new job more difficult than ever before. So today, Peter, Schneider Electric, being one of the most progressive industries in efficiency and sustainability, how did it cope with the consequences of COVID-19, and how did it play a proactive role in responding to this crisis and at the same time maintain its vision to the job market?
All right, well, that's a great question, Razan. I think first of all, Schneider Electric, we're fortunate in the sense that what we do, the demand for our services doesn't go away. We're in the business of keeping the lights on. We're in the business of keeping the data flowing through data centers. And so in many of our markets, in fact, we saw a very positive uptick during COVID-19. For example, we do a lot with data centers. We do a lot with hospitals, for example. So our business fared reasonably well through the pandemic. Having said that, we did have to take some measures in the beginning when things were unclear and uncertain. We spent a lot of time making sure that our people were safe. We made sure that our people felt that the leadership understood the situation around the pandemic and that they were being supported. But fundamentally, we needed to make sure that we could shift and pivot our way of working so that we could keep our people safe and deliver for our customers.
Thank you, Peter. So now moving on to discussing a little bit around youth skills requirements. It is being said that by 2025, the capabilities of machines, algorithms will be more broadly employed than in previous years. It is also said that 44% of the skills that employees will need to perform the roles effectively are going to change, and that the future of work, in part due to automation, technology, and globalization that we are seeing today more than ever before, will pose the greatest threat to labor market stability. So in your opinion, Peter, what are the skills needed for youth to start a career in the green energy and sustainability industry?
So I'm going to answer that question from a slightly different angle, if I may, and then come back to, I think, the question that you're asking me, Razan. I hope you don't mind. I think, for us at Schneider Electric, it's really important when we're recruiting youth, graduates, interns, for example, that we're talking to people that really know what they believe in. You'll find, not just at Schneider, but actually at most companies today, employers spend a lot of time establishing their what we call employer value proposition. I guess this deals with the culture of the company, the purpose of the company, what the company believes in, and wrapped into that is what an employee can expect, or what a graduate can expect when they join the company. It's really important, I think, that when young people approach a company, that they've got a sense for two things. Firstly, what they believe in, what's important to them, the kind of organization they want to associate with. Maybe they want to work for a big company, a small company, a startup, a corporate, for example. But also to know something about the value proposition of the organization, to really get a sense that what they believe in and what their expectations of the workplace are aligned with the company that they're interested in. I guess, at Schneider Electric, key pillars of our value proposition would be our purpose, I guess the meaning behind our purpose, empowerment and innovation that goes with that, and also inclusivity. So there's some really key pillars that we hold up as our value proposition, and they would need to be important to people who are going to be successful at Schneider Electric. But in addition to that, a lot of the more classic answers to your question, Razan, I think are still relevant. For example, great communication skills. Really key is adaptability and sort of cognitive flexibility. We don't talk about jobs for life anymore. We know that people are going to adapt and repurpose their careers faster than they ever have before. So an open-mindedness, a curiosity that goes with those things is really important. I don't think we can get away from the necessity in really most jobs today to be strong in accessing, assessing, and analysing information. You could couple that with digital skills that you would expect me to talk about, but also, certainly in a corporate environment like Schneider Electric, really understanding who you are, emotional intelligence, self-awareness are going to be really important. And then finally, I would say work ethic, still stands true today. And, honestly, I think we're yet to see how the pandemic will impact some of these skills, right? Around self-awareness, work ethic, for example, curiosity, perhaps it might positively impact some of those as well. And then I was just reading some news today. Actually saw a study out today that in one of the Emirates here in UAE, the study said that children are spending 1/3 of their time on devices, and parents aren't reviewing what the kids are consuming. Right? I mean, just that study got me thinking about how the pandemic is changing the way that people interact, the way that people communicate, and we'll need to see, as time goes by, how those changes really align to the workplace.
Thank you very much, Peter. I totally agree with you. I mean, everything is evolving at a very fast pace, and even us as parents or as youth, we're adapting to this tremendous change that's taking place day by day. So, taking the question at a different angle, what are the opportunities that you believe are available for youth in the green energy and sustainability industry, especially at the current time with the digital transformation?
Well, the good news is that the green industry and the energy industries are growing. Opportunities should be increasing, right? We live in a world that is rightly obsessed with decarbonising. And the key to decarbonising is to electrify. And so we need to consider how we electrify and decarbonise all aspects of our lives, right? We could be talking about heating, cooling, more relevant perhaps to some of you guys will be transportation, as you'll see more and more electric vehicles on the road, for example. We need the power that we generate to be zero carbon and renewable. So we know that these markets are growing as we move away from more traditional energy sources like coal, oil and gas. The other thing which is going on here, with this obsession, positive obsession around decarbonisation and sustainability, is actually the demand for energy is increasing. I guess, around this, some megatrends that you probably know more about than I do, things like urbanisation, industrialisation, the demand for data, for example, all these things are increasing, which means the opportunities in the green economy, certainly from an energy management and automation perspective, which is where Schneider Electric is coming from, we can expect to see those opportunities growing. If I take Schneider Electric, for example, in this region, and perhaps a little bit of background about me, I've been with Schneider for 7 years now, almost to the day. I spent the first 5 years in the UK, leading talent acquisition for the UK and Ireland, and I've been in this region now for nearly 2 years. In the UK, we saw Schneider grow our early talent programs by nearly 200% in the time that I was there, okay, albeit from a relatively low baseline. When I say early talent programs, I'm talking about graduates, internships and apprenticeships, okay, in that part of the world. Already, since I've been here in the Middle East Africa region, we've seen our early career programs grow significantly, and I would expect that curve to continue to turn up as we expect our talent to be more digital, more diverse, more equipped to deal with the new world and the new ways of working. We're really, and taking it again a slightly different angle here at Schneider, we're really focusing on doing the majority of our hiring at the junior end of the spectrum, okay? Good quality internships that lead to good quality graduate jobs, and then doing really a lot less recruitment at the more senior end of the spectrum meaning that we need to get better at pulling that talent through the business quicker. And I mentioned flexibility. I mentioned things like adaptability and cognitive flexibility. This becomes important because if you join a company like Schneider Electric, we're going to put you on an accelerated development program and try and pull you into a more senior role within a relatively short period of time. So that that creates obviously better opportunity for our people internally because we're filling more of our senior jobs with internal hires, which means fewer people leave, our workforce is better engaged, and we keep our skills within our organisation. That's really the crux of our recruitment strategy.
Thank you so much. And we're receiving a few questions from the audience. One of them is actually asking about a brief overview of the industry and in specific Schneider Electric's lines of business.
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you very much. So Schneider Electric is I guess a world leader in the energy management and automation market. We are about, in fact, just over this 2020 results, just over a 25 billion euro business. That takes into account the impact of COVID, which makes us one of the biggest companies in our sector. We're truly global, so really all over the world. We're very proud of the fact that we have what we call balanced geographies. That means that we balance our revenue and our people very evenly across the globe. Today we're about 130,000 people. So that makes us possibly one of the biggest companies that you may not have heard a great deal about. That means that we are in the full energy management and automation value chain. If you think about power, for example, all the way from power generation source, all the way through the value chain, through distribution, through transformers, switchgear, all the way through to the light switch that you have in your living room when you flick it on. Schneider Electric can be involved in every level of that value chain. There's also a number of other markets and industries that we're involved in. Very much involved in, we're a global leader in data centers. So that's data center build, design, and equipment. And we have very, very prestigious companies who are our customers, who you will have heard of, the likes of Amazon and Google and Intel and some of the web giants who we provide data center equipment and services for. We're also a world leader in industrial automation. So if you think of a factory or an offshore oil platform or any sort of industrial setting, there'll be all sorts of automation and remote monitoring and sensors and all sorts of things associated with that process. Schneider Electric is in the full automation value chain. And I guess the final piece here is going to be around software. So more recently, and when I say more recently, I mean really in the last 5 years, maybe a little more, we're on a mission to digitize everything that we do. In fact, we've been a very acquisitive business. We've acquired big companies and small companies, particularly some smaller tech startups, as we are on a mission to make everything we do smart, to make it all able to be able to manage and monitor all of our solutions and services remotely, and to be able to bring the efficiencies that comes with digital as well. So we have a kind of software wrap, we call it EcoStructure, around everything that we do.
Amazing, thank you so much. So you've already been doing some efforts towards digitalization way before the pandemic started, so right?
Yeah, so if we talk about the impact of the pandemic from a digital point of view, without wishing to sound in any way sort of smug about it, I think Schneider was pretty well positioned. The core of what I do is people, right? I'm a talent acquisition director. I sit in the HR team. And I have to think about, what was the impact of COVID-19 on our people? Well, the good news is that, we already had the systems and processes in place. We're on Microsoft Teams now. This was commonplace for us in our business. I manage a team of recruiters across Middle East Africa, some of whom I've never even met, okay, because we collaborate seamlessly, so effectively by digital means. And I think for anyone coming into anyone coming into the industry, anyone taking their first job is going to need to get very comfortable with being managed and managing remotely, working remotely. That's definitely commonplace within our business now. The other thing which prepared us very well, we put this in place a number of years ago, is what we call our principles of flexibility. Now that means that we're very comfortable with hybrid ways of working. I can talk about how we've evolved that during the pandemic over the last 12 months or so. But we're very comfortable with hybrid ways of working. That means, telecommuting, as some might call it, working from home, a mix between home and office work, for example, but also flexible hours, flexible holidays, part-time options for people. This is to make sure that our people are engaged, that they're happy working for Schneider Electric, but also that it means that as an organisation we can appeal to a really diverse base of talent. There'll be some great talent out there that can't be in the office 5 days a week or needs flexibility with hours or is looking for a part-time option. We want to make ourselves attractive to really the best talent in the market. So like I said, flexible hours, flexible holiday, part-time working. We also have opportunities, and we create space for people to take time out to volunteer. And you'll also be pleased to hear that we have a flexible dress code at Schneider Electric. So we don't expect people to come to work for a man in a suit and tie every day. We can be a lot more flexible than that, which means a lot to me, I can tell you personally. Okay, these are things that mean we can really bring our best selves to work. We can work where we want to an extent. We can work when we want, and we can make sure that we're comfortable in the workplace. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Razan, is that we were well prepared from a flexibility and from a digital standpoint for what was to come. Now, yes, very quickly we had to pivot like everyone else. We moved everyone almost overnight to remote working. Of course, not everyone is set up at home. Maybe not everyone has a home office. Not everyone has a laptop. Most people do, but not everyone did, right? So we had to very quickly make sure that all of our people had the things that we need so that they could work effectively and most importantly safely. But there are also a number of people who work for Schneider Electric who needed to be in the field, right? So for example, I mentioned to you already, we're in the business of keeping data centers running, which was super important, during the pandemic because, I don't know about you, but with nothing else to do, I watched a lot more Netflix than I typically would. Maybe I shouldn't have admitted that. But also, we're in the business of keeping hospitals running, and there's a lot of very complex power infrastructure within a hospital, for example, that you probably don't see, but Schneider Electric is very close to and will be monitoring it, will be maintaining it, upgrading it, repairing it, and so we need to have people in the field who can do these things, and it was really key for us to make sure that we can keep these people where they need to be with their customers, but also super safe, okay? So we had to pivot in that way to adjust to the pandemic. Yes, in some cases we did invite our people to work reduced hours, particularly during the deepest of lockdowns. And really there was a sense in the business that we were all in it together. People did make some sacrifices in the hours that they worked, and in of course, the money that they earned would have been reduced with the hours. But we were very close to employee well-being, to employee engagement. We ran a number of surveys through the pandemic of how people were feeling, and I'm pleased to report that we did in fact see an increase in employee engagement during the pandemic. Okay? Our people were happy with the way that we managed as leaders, that we managed the process. And I guess the icing on the cake around this is just actually here in Q1, we were able to pay back some of the money that people lost out on last year due to reduced hours, because we actually exceeded our expectations in terms of performance. So when you wrap all these things together, people are enabled and empowered to do their jobs. People have got the support that they need, even additional mental health services, for example, that they need to be effective. People feel that sense of solidarity. They feel that leaders are able to make quick and good decisions. And then when things pan out better than expected, people are rewarded and even paid back. Okay, and that has brought us a lot of loyalty amongst our people. So it's not that it's not been difficult, but maybe we're even a better company for what we've learned over the last 12 months.
Great to hear all of this update, Peter, over how you really avoided the negative impact, and ensured your employees' retention and your employees efficiently working throughout the different stages of the pandemic and how it affected all of us. I have been receiving more questions. I'm going to choose two of them to ask you as we conclude our discussion. So one of our students is asking, how does Schneider Electric choose its trainees?
That's a good question. We typically partner with what we call our target universities. If anyone wants to reach out to me offline, then I'll happily share with you who those target universities are. So we'll partner very closely with those target universities across the Middle East Africa region, not only here in the GCC. So I'm not sure where the audience is today, but you can probably be assured that somewhere in your region there'll be a university that we're partnering with. So we'll be working closely with those universities to get a sense of who the talented people are within those groups, but also taking opportunities to market ourselves to those target universities. At the time when we release our opportunities, and we'll be releasing our internship opportunities across the Gulf region, Saudi, and Egypt, we'll be releasing those internship opportunities in the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks. So look out for those. You'll see them on our website. There'll be a number of criteria in there around what we look for. Typically, there can be some specific, in some cases there'll be specific degrees that we look for, often electrical engineering, or frankly we can be quite open-minded about what kind of engineering, particularly electrical engineering. We often look for people from a software or digital background as well. You can expect when you go through our assessment process, we'll typically deploy a video interview. We use a tool called HireView, so be prepared for that. We'll ask you questions, and you'll be then the camera will start running. We'll ask you for a video response. Maybe you've been through that already, but that's a tool that we often use here. If you're successful at getting through the video interview stage, then we will you will have a telephone interview, or I should say a Teams interview, a bit like we're doing right now. In days gone by, we would have held an assessment centre where we all got together. That's a little challenging right now. Maybe we'll get back to that in the future. But right now, we'll conclude the process through a video interview. We've got a number of criteria around our values. It will typically be a values-based interview because we recognise that for graduates and interns coming into the industry for their first job, they don't have a lot of skills that they can talk about, a lot of experience that they can talk about. So we'll really try and focus on the values of our organisation. For example, one of our values is customer first. So we'll expect you to demonstrate a customer-centric approach to what you do. One of our values is learn every day. So we'll want to understand your learning curiosity. Another one that we have 5, I won't go through them all, but the final one that I'll mention here is embrace different. We expect people to have an open mind, to like to work in a diverse environment, to think outside the box, to be innovative by mindset. So these are some of our values that we will interview specifically to, if that makes sense.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. One more question. How can people develop soft skills like emotional intelligence and self-awareness later in life, based on your personal experience?
Okay, so emotional intelligence and self-awareness later in life. Okay, so you know what? The only word that really comes to mind, Razan, as you say that, is feedback. We need to get good at giving and receiving feedback. We need to get good at asking for feedback and being prepared to deal with it. And I can tell you, if you ask me about personal experience, I can tell you from personal experience that feedback is not always easy to receive. I can, again, tell you from personal experience, I know for a fact that I've given people feedback, quite direct feedback, that they have not heard. Right? So I can be saying something and I'm convinced that it's actually not, it's not landing, right? It's not getting through. This is where kind of self-awareness comes in. My advice is to the audience today is to get used to giving and receiving feedback. and maybe even take a coach or a mentor, someone you trust, someone you respect, be they in the industry, maybe in your family, maybe one of your leaders at university, who you can talk to about this topic of feedback and self-awareness, and you can start to explore some of these things in a safe environment, right? We encourage people at Schneider Electric to have a mentor. In fact, we have a tool at Schneider Electric to match mentors and mentees, right? It's so important for us because it's useful for me to have someone who's not my line manager, who's not a member of my team, who's not one of my stakeholders, to talk to about exactly this, right? Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, maybe my career path, some of the challenges I'm facing. Someone who I know I can talk to in confidence and who I respect. I think that's really key. We see that there are some young people who do that almost naturally, right, from an early age, and we can see the impact of that when we talk to them. There's a maturity around some people because they've kind of taken this approach to their personal development. If you're not already doing it, I encourage you to do so.
Thank you, Peter, for your time with us today. I think we are a little bit running over time. Thank you for sharing your experience and your insights. To all of our youth, the nature of work is changing much quicker than we anticipated. The young people are the driving force for growth and progress in the Middle East and North Africa. But you must be resilient, adaptable, and ready for the unpredictable nature of the future of work. We want you all to look back on this moment in your lives as a turning point, where you begin to reflect on your own abilities and develop the skills you need to face the job market of tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Peter, for your valuable time. And we conclude our session.
My pleasure, Razan. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Peter.